Hi everybody and welcome to the Syria Security Seminar. Today's speaker is Meenakshi Gupta. She comes from Indiana University and today she's going to talk about spoofing resistant packet routing for the internet.
Great, thanks. So I didn't know this was actually a class, so why don't we just...
Hi everybody and welcome to the Syria Security Seminar. Today's speaker is Meenakshi Gupta. She comes from Indiana University. And today she's going to talk about spoofing resistant packet routing for the internet.
Great, thanks. So I didn't know this was actually a class, so why don't we just do it the way I would normally teach a class? Raise your hand whenever you have a question. Please feel free to interrupt. If you feel like I'm not explaining something or something is not clear, we don't have to move forward at all. Sounds good? So I will talk about IP spoofing in the internet in general, and one of the approaches that we have pursued with my student Craig Shue. So this is about spoofing resistant packet routing for the internet. Basically, here are the three parts to the talk. I would first talk about what IP spoofing is and what kind of approaches are generally pursued in order to solve the problem. In part two, I'll discuss what is our approach to the problem and some evaluation on why we think the solution is actually practical. So IP spoofing in general is the forgery of source IP addresses in the internet packets. So the internet packets contain both source IP addresses and destination IP addresses. And the routers are mainly concerned with the destination IP address of the packet, and they do not concern themselves with the source address contained in the packet. Hence, if the sender of the packet doesn't really intend to do a two-way communication like you would in the case of an email transfer, for example, which involves multiple packets and a TCP handshake ahead of the time, then you actually could put any source address in a packet as you want. And this has been often exploited in launching denial of service attacks, and I'll mention a little bit more about it in a minute. So just to put IP spoofing in action, here's a snapshot of the network that you see on the screen, and this host on the left, which is 1.2.3.4, wants to send a packet that basically it wants the packet to look like it came from 5.6.7.8. And it sends it to 9.10.11.12. So here's the sneaky packet, and when 9.10.11.12 receives this packet, it has no idea who sent it, and it thinks 5.6.7.8 sent the packet. Of course, if the host on the right actually tries to communicate back to the sender of the packet, then who would receive the reply? That would be 5.6.7.8, and that's essentially the problem of spoofing. Now, why is spoofing an interesting problem? What could you do with spoofing? And that's essentially why we are interested in solving the problem. So spoofing allows the attackers to conceal their identities, because at this point, when a host receives the packet, it has no idea who actually sent it. It only thinks someone sent it, and who wasn't the sender anyway. And this is often used if a botnet, like a network of compromised machine, is used to launch a denial of service attack, then spoofing would often be used to protect the botnet. Of course, if you're using the botnet to send spam, then you would not be able to use spoofing. Is that obvious? Right? Because spam means a SMTP connection, which means a TCP SYN packet comes by, a SYN ACK comes by, then you do another ACK, which means that you have to have a two-way communication link before you can even start to transmit the SMTP data. So if you are using the botnet to send spam, then you could not do spoofing. Spoofing is only applicable for denial of service attacks of the type TCP SYN. For example, you want to attack bestbuy.com. You create these packets that are coming from all possible sources on the internet, and these packets get to the host, and the host wants to respond back thinking you're trying to do a TCP SYN connection. And of course, the responses are scattered all over the internet because they are not actually sent from where they're claiming to be sent from. which means that a TCP, a server, for example, Best Buy, is actually sitting with all these connection requests in its table, thinking that it would actually hear back from the client, and it never hears back. Eventually, it times out, but if you continue to do that, its connection table is being utilized or used by attackers, and no legitimate clients can get through. And there's also reflector attack, which I won't go into the details of. But essentially, the point is that you can use IP spoofing to launch denial of service attacks. And IP spoofing is nothing but the act of putting a random or a targeted IP address in the source IP address in an IP packet. But you don't care what the source is, or maybe you put someone else's information, not yours. Right? Question.
How is it more damaging if a botnet simulates, say, 5 times its size or much larger its size?
How is it more damaging? Okay.
It says by simulating a larger fleet of machines, it amplifies the damage. How is that?
So let's say you have 5 machines and you're using those 5 machines to launch a denial of service attack. If you were only using your own IP addresses, let's say we are attacking bestbuy.com. You're using your own IP addresses, so you generate 5 packets, and now bestbuy.com has a connection table where it says, okay, IP address 1, IP address 2, 3, 4, 5 want to establish a connection with me, and I'm going to send a reply to the TCP SYN packets, which would be a SYN plus ACK packet, and wait for the acknowledgement for that to come back. You're not going to receive the acknowledgement because they don't intend to reply to you. So you have occupied that much space in their connection table. However, if Best Buy had space for 100 connections, the other 95 connections could be used by someone else. But if those 5 machines first go as someone at Purdue, then go as someone at Indiana, then someone at IU, etc., then you could pretend to be 100,000 people trying to connect. So ensuring that at any point of time, the 100 connections that Best Buy can support are yours, just consuming their connection, space in their connection table, and hence just not allowing anyone else to get through. Does that make sense? How a basic denial of service attack can be launched, and it's much more damaging if you use IP spoofing. However, if you were not using IP spoofing, then if you had a fleet of 5 machines, you could still simulate only 5 machines, right? There's this other side to it. For spoofing prevention is good for denial of service prevention. However, you could not prevent denial of service by just doing spoofing prevention. For example, practically all the spam we receive, including the phishing attacks that we see, are actually launched by bots. These are typically compromised home user machines. They have no idea their machine is a bot, and it's sending out spam. It's easier to shut down a botnet because spam actually has to use a valid source address and the correct source address, not just a valid one, the correct source address, which means you can actually use logs from who sent packets, etc., to shut down a botnet.